Welcome. You're listening to the Keeping Ashland Healthy podcast, a podcast production of the Mental Health and Recovery Board of Ashland County, Ohio. Thanks for joining us. And this is David Ross, Executive Director of the Mental Health and Recovery Board here in Ashland County. And you are listening to another episode of Keeping Ashland Healthy. And in studio with me, two fabulous guests. They happen to be staff members here at the board. We have in studio Elise Schrader. Elise is our Director of Programs, Training, and Education. Welcome.
Morning.
Good morning. Nice to have you back on the program.
Thank you.
And I think, I don't know if this is our third or fifth, I can't remember. Jen English is our newest staff member. She is our Director of Community Wellness and Engagement. Welcome back to the program, Jen.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we are excited, audience, to talk to you about Elise's latest blog in the Ashland Source, as well as on the Mental Health and Recovery Board's website. And it has to do with balance, right?
Balance.
Yes, I like this. We're talking about something that everybody's looking for, right? A little bit more balance in our lives. And when we hear that, I think most of us think about work and family and that relationship, maybe stress and rest, but it also can be really physical. Our balance can affect how we move, how we age, even how confident we might feel going through everyday life. So we're going to have a conversation about balance, and Jen and Elise are going to help me because I don't know if I have a good work-life balance. I've been told I do not. So, yeah, maybe I'll learn something, Elise and Jen, as we go through today's episode. But let's start. Either one of you can take any of these. What does balance really even mean? I mean, when people hear that, what do you think comes to mind?
So for me, when I think of balance, the first thing I think of is standing on one foot and kind of wobbling back and forth.
Yeah.
So when I think of balance, I also think
physical
of
balance.
Physical balance. Riding a horse, you need to be very balanced and centered in the saddle.
Okay.
But so there's that physical part, but then there's also the emotional, the mental part, and just your day-to-day life of just what does balance look like?
Yeah.
I like that.
So the physical, but also like emotional or life balance.
Yeah.
And again, I think one of the questions we get is balance isn't necessarily something that's achieved, like you check it off a list. I now have, Elise and Jen, perfect balance in my life. But maybe it's something that we practice. Can either of you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah.
Right. That's the truth. It's like we're going to one day just have everything figured out.
Right.
But I mean, obviously our life is always changing, our circumstances, new challenges, new jobs.
Right.
And even, even positive changes, right? They require us to adapt. Yeah. So it's not about achieving perfection, right?
Exactly. And every day looks a little different. Everybody has so much going on.
Exactly.
So no, I love that, Jen. We often talk about balance like it is a destination, but it's really not.
Right.
Real balance, that kind that holds up, really looks more like that one-footed stance. So if you think of standing on one foot, your body is constantly making little adjustments to stay stood on that one foot.
Right.
Someone might watch you standing on one foot and it looks like you're perfectly straight and you're not wobbling.
Yep.
But inside, you're making all these like little...
Yeah, your ankle's moving, your arms are moving,
all
your
the
head
muscles
moves.
in your feet. Right.
Yes. So life is very much that same way where we're constantly making intentional small adjustments to kind of come back to that center balance of what feels okay, what feels safe, what feels healthy for me.
Yeah.
And again, because we are humans and life is so interesting and often fast-paced, that does look different. Not even just every day, but every hour can look a little different.
Yeah.
Right. That's
Well,
really good.
I mean, I've had this before where, again, obviously, audience, we're talking about more than just physical balance, even though at least use that example of the standing on one foot, right? And Jen, you mentioned whether it's good news, bad news, in between news, as life happens to us, sometimes it can throw us and we make the adjustment. So I'm thinking of like a circumstance where even here at the office where maybe we get some news, right? Unexpected news, right? And then it might throw us off bounds. We had a plan for the day because everybody, audience, I like to plan things. But then sometimes we get a phone call or somebody comes to our office and then, that wasn't what we had planned to do that day, right? And then we have to make those, like you say, little adjustments to get to because I feel off balance in that moment, right? What are we going to do? This wasn't on the schedule. So, and that looks differently, maybe you're saying, at least for every person, like how they get that balance back. So do I say, hey, we need another staff meeting. Let's pull some people together. Let's talk. Who else do we need to bring in this conversation? So the regaining of the balance, I think maybe, is that what you're getting at? That could look differently.
Absolutely. That can look differently. And I do want to piggyback off of what Jen said is things that can change our balance. It's not even always negative things. It can be positive things. And sometimes it's not even one or the other. It can be both at the same time. So I have an example.
Okay.
I'm redoing my office a little bit, changing some pictures around.
Is that what's going on? I thought you were quitting. I wasn't sure what was happening.
So my office looks very disheveled, but I'm excited about the changes.
Right.
But also when I walked in my office this morning, it was disheveled. So I had kind of a moment of, this looks a little messy. So I'm going to get it together and work on that later this afternoon. But that's kind of an example of something I'm excited about. But also until it kind of changes a little bit, I have to take a deep breath and kind of come back to my center of it's okay that there's some stuff all over the floor or pictures, leaning against the wall. It's okay.
And that's what you talked about earlier with your awareness. I mean, you're checking in with yourself. You're becoming, that is making you a bit anxious.
Yes.
So, I like that. That's, You're
Checking
being aware,
in.
exactly.
Yes. Constantly checking in with yourselves and your loved ones, the people around you, because everyone else is also trying to balance as well.
Yeah. So that's an interesting point. So as we're balancing, we should assume that people around us are also doing the same thing because we're all humans. We all need this balance. So maybe when we're having an interesting conversation with somebody that's not going the way we think it should go, maybe they're just not feeling really balanced during that conversation, or maybe the conversation itself has them
off balance.
Yeah.
Exactly. And knowing your balance stance and kind of where that is also really helpful in relationships.
Yeah.
So I know if I'm feeling off balanced or I have some things that are kind of messing with my mind a little bit, I'm going to say to my partner or people close to me like, hey, I'm feeling a little off today. So if I come off a certain way, please know it's not you. I'm kind of working through some things.
Yeah. Well, you're dipping in, I think, the second section we wanted to talk about this mind-body connection, because people often think of the mind and the body as separate, but we know that they are actually connected. So, maybe talk a little bit about how does our mental health maybe impact our physical balance? So as you said, Elise, if maybe we're feeling overly stressful or anxious, even just tired, how might that affect our ability just to have balance either emotionally or physically?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those things can kind of seep into physical ramifications where maybe you're notice that your shoulders are really tight or you're not sleeping very well.
Yeah.
Maybe you notice some anxiety or fatigue, or the worst is anxiety and fatigue at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
So it can just really sink into that physical part of your whole self.
Well, do you remember that when, Jen had challenged me that I shouldn't talk about yoga unless I'd actually done it. So she was putting me through my paces. And at one point she said, oh, really? Is that as far as your body can move? And she said, I've never quite seen somebody so tense.
She was impressed by your level of...
She said, do you have a medical condition?
Oh, no.
He puts a lot of words in my mouth.
But right. So I don't know exact words. Maybe it was a medical condition, but you said, Jen, I was particularly tense. I needed to work on that relaxation so that, as you say, maybe that stress and anxiety, muscle tension can impact our balance.
Oh, absolutely. And if someone's always worried about falling or feeling uncertainty physically, then that will cause us to move differently.
Yeah.
And then that actually increases our risk.
Right. They're trying to compensate maybe.
Exactly.
And then they might overcompensate.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this idea of mental and physical balance, they do go back and forth between each other, I think.
When our minds are overwhelmed, our bodies often feel the same.
Yeah. I love that. So can improving our physical wellness, and Jen, maybe this is something you want to touch on because you do this, can improving our physical wellness actually help improve our emotional wellness? So what's the connection on the other side? Improve it as you do with your yoga and your other movement and your other movement and exercise and all of it. What's that relationship like? Have you seen that?
Physical activity is obviously one of the best tools that we have for supporting our emotional well-being. I mean, it's a fact. It helps reduce the stress hormones. It improves our mood, increases our energy, helps us sleep better.
Yeah. That regular activity. Yeah.
Right. I mean, when we care for our physical health, we're supporting our mental health, and it's calming the nervous system.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, as regular listeners to the program know, this is why the board has been focusing on holistically. We don't see mental health or substance use recovery maybe in a traditional way. We certainly recognize some of the historical things that might lead trauma, family systems, environment. Of course, those things play a role, but we also have expanded because the science really has expanded to say, as Jen said, how much sunlight are you getting? How much movement? How much sleep are you getting? Are you eating nutritious foods?
Yeah. Are you drinking enough water?
Yes.
Water.
Water's free.
Yes. So, I love that. So there is audience, a mind-body connection. But maybe we were starting to talk about this. Maybe either of you, can you talk about what maybe throws us off balance? Jen started to talk about this at the top. It could be good things, bad things, but maybe some practical things that maybe what happens in our lives that maybe typically throws us off balance, and then we will talk about how we can get that back.
Yeah. So when I was doing a lot of work in therapy as a therapist, we would talk a lot about minor life stressors and major life stressors.
Yeah.
So it kind of helps to categorize them in two different things. So your minor life stressors might be like, it was really crowded, or I had a lot of traffic on my way to work today, where that's kind of a little stress, but it is stress. And then there's your major life stressors. So that's moving, that's starting a new job, that's the death of a loved one. And we all experience those in different capacities at different times. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of times we experience them together where you feel like you're like slammed with so many things at one time. So any of those can be definitely things that throw you off balance. And because we're human and every human is different, those stressors may impact you less or more than maybe, someone else.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, isolation.
That's a big one.
Loneliness.
Yeah. I mean, somebody's even listed here technology as something that can throw us off balance. And maybe that is maybe overuse.
Yeah, doom scrolling,
Oh, absolutely.
comparative culture.
Yeah.
Everyone else has this beautiful life. What about me?
right.
Even though we know people post usually their best things.
Oh, do they?
And best pictures.
I wondered about that. Yeah.
Usually.
It's not honest, truthful. I see. People are posting like the best version. Okay.
Yes, maybe some fancy filters and
Yeah. Well, Jen, you've got a filter. Yeah, you got a real fancy
Just
one.
a dirty phone. It makes a wonderful filter.
Well, but it sounds like some good news is that getting off balance isn't failure. We don't need the audience. You don't need to see that as failure, because I think that's just life. All of us, we can't get through a day without being hit with all kinds of things. So the fact that we might feel a little bit off balance, it's not really failure. It's just a signal that it's time to make an adjustment, which you both spoke about. So maybe recognizing those warning signs before becoming overwhelmed might be importantly.
Yeah.
So, if you're starting to notice like you're starting to feel unbalanced, maybe within you, maybe it's your gut, or maybe it's your nerves, right? So as you begin to feel that you're out of balance, maybe making the adjustments earlier rather than waiting is a good idea?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, being very intentional
Okay.
and really staying in tune with yourself and catching those things as soon as possible. A lot of times as humans, we wait and wait. Oh, I'll be okay. I don't need to go to the doctor. I don't need to go to therapy. I'll be fine. But yeah, really making those adjustments as soon as possible. And I love what you said, treating when we need those adjustments, it's not a failure.
Yeah,
So I want to read just a couple sentences from my article,
Absolutely.
if that's okay.
Yes.
So one of the things I said, so if you're feeling a little unsteady these days, try treating that as information of something you need instead of evidence that you're doing something wrong. Your body doesn't panic when you wobble, when you're standing on one foot. It simply makes an adjustment or adjustments and keeps going. So your emotional life deserves that same patience.
It's nice.
So being gentle and patient with ourselves is so important.
Yeah, I love that.
It is. Yeah, that's perfect.
So one of the things we've talked about is, creating more balance. And, is the way to do that is just to practice balance in our lives. And maybe can you guys both talk about some of the ways that every day we can practice creating more balance in our lives. So this is kind of a practical section of our podcast for folks listening at home. So throw out some of the things that we got on our list there and tell us a little bit about what that might look like.
I think Elisa already touched on it. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Right?
Yeah.
Small changes.
Yeah. For me, balance and mindfulness go hand in hand. I notice when I'm off balance, when my brain starts feeling kind of fuzzy and I start feeling overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. And that's when I check in with myself and really try and pull myself into the moment and maybe do some grounding. Because a lot of times things that throw us off balance, perhaps we can't change, right? If I run into traffic on my way to work, well, I can't really change the traffic, but I can change kind of how I'm reacting to it and kind of what I'm doing with my mind and my body, my breathing and those kinds of things.
Well, I was going to say,
we've touched on that, right? Yeah, moving our bodies.
Yeah,
right?
Jen,
getting enough sleep.
You just did a video on movement and breathing recently that you posted that, I mean, I think it's, even though there wasn't a lot of text to it, you were demonstrating the importance of movement and breathing. If I recall, you were even looking at, I don't know if it was a sunrise or a sunset, but I mean, that idea of
spending time outside, that's a good one. Yeah.
Right? You were outside practicing, deep breaths and movements, right? And what does that do?
And that's what that's creating moments to pause and to breathe, right? That helps us strengthen our ability to handle our life's ups and downs.
Right.
Yeah. Giving ourselves that chance to pause, to check in with ourselves.
Yeah. And if you listen to our podcast on glimmers,
yes,
it kind of goes hand in hand with just noticing those little glimmers in life of
small moments.
That's a beautiful sunset, or, oh my gosh, listen to that bird. He sounds happy.
Yes.
That's exactly it. Right.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing I picked up is that neither of you have mentioned that it's not about being perfect. It's about maybe trying to find some consistent things, though, that work for you.
Consistent habits. Yeah. And that was it. Not dramatic changes.
Right.
Just consistent habits, things that we do every day.
Yeah. And you've said that before. I mean, these things do not have to be expensive. So audience, understand that, everything that Elise and Jen are talking, these are, movement, breathing, resting,
water,
time outdoors, our park systems, which we're going to do more episodes, hopefully on, drawing attention to how our park systems really can be foundational to your wellness. These small things, these are not expensive things. And that's why I guess I get so excited too, because they're accessible to everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Yes.
Love that. Well, it sounds like routines are really important to build a good foundation. And when life becomes chaotic, healthy habits help steady us. And, for this last section, Jen, I wanted to give you a few minutes because as you have begun here, this is a new role at the board, this Director of Community Wellness and Engagement. I just wanted the audience to know a little bit more about maybe some of the areas you're going to be dipping into here with the rest of the team in the upcoming months and years.
Okay. Well, I'm really excited about the role. I think we're focusing a lot on helping people build practical skills and connections that support that overall well-being. I think I'm working on I'm working on community wellness programming, partnerships that really help people access the resources related to their mental health and recovery, resilience, healthy living. But I'm just very passionate about helping people understand that wellness is not a one-size-fits-all, like Elise said.
Yeah.
So whether it's through movement, yoga, community engagement, prevention efforts, the goal is to provide tools that people can use in everyday life to support their health.
No, we're excited to have you as part of the team.
So excited.
Thank you. I am very excited to be here. Very excited.
Well, audience, we anticipate much more tabling opportunities for the board, either by ourselves, but more likely with Jen's involvement, partnering, as she said, with a lot of our organizations, some of which you all know are contract providers, but we are encouraged to expand our partnership opportunities to other like-minded organizations in town that maybe we haven't been as intentional partnering with, but we would like to do that because, again, even though the board we can't possibly fund every organization in town, there are a lot of like-minded, like-missioned organizations that we really want to get on, promote each other and support each other, and Jen will be a big part of that. So, well,
Very
maybe
excited.
Yes, and finally, maybe for both of you, let me ask this for both of you. If you could leave our listeners with one simple piece of advice about living a more balanced life, what might it be? And I'll throw it to you first, Elisa.
Okay.
If you could leave our listeners one simple piece of advice about living a more balanced life, what would it be?
I think the best advice that I can give is just be very intentional with your mind and your body and really pay attention, give yourself grace, and really just notice when you're starting to feel overwhelmed and stressed, whatever that those kind of triggers look like for you, that you can manage them really in some really pretty simple ways.
That's great. Great.
Yeah, that's
What do you think,
piggyback
Jen?
right on that, right? Starting small and being kind to yourself, like we already mentioned. It's not doing everything perfectly. It's just paying attention to what you need and making those small adjustments. So my advice would be just pick one small habit. Take a walk, drink more water, spend time breathing, call a friend, but then practice it consistently. Small actions repeated time over time create the most meaningful change.
Yeah, and become habits, which
That's
might be
it.
a future
That's it.
podcast.
Right.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Well, I love that. Success, it's often said success breeds success. So
Yes.
if you start things, as you said, Jen, kind of modest and doable, and you see that success, I think people then feel a sense of accomplishment, right?
Absolutely.
And then they want to, maybe do more of that. But so, that, audience, don't, I know maybe you've heard some speakers that say, do the hardest things first. And there's a time and a place for that, but not for this.
It's not sustainable.
Yeah. I think what we're talking about, sometimes it's picking the thing that's most achievable and doable first, and then get that success under your belt and then build from it. That makes sense?
Yeah, get those good feelings, those good
Yes.
vibes. And use those to lift you up.
No, this has been wonderful. So Jen and Elise, thank you, both of you, for joining us. Again, if you did not hear their titles, I'll put it in the episode description, but Elise is our Director of Programs, Training, Education, and Jen is our new Director of Community Wellness and Engagement. As you can tell, audience, I like job titles that are comprehensive and long. Very long. They don't...
filling out paperwork. Oh, my goodness.
Thanks to all of you for listening to our Keeping Ashland Healthy podcast. Remember, balance isn't about being perfect. It's about making the small adjustments that help us stay healthy, resilient, and connected. Don't forget to look for Elisa's column in the Ashland Source or on our website. And until next time, thank you for listening to another episode of the Keeping Ashland Healthy podcast. The podcast is a production of the Mental Health and Recovery Board of Ashland County, Ohio. You can reach the board by calling 419-281-3139. Please remember that the board funds a local 24/7 crisis line through Appleseed Community Mental Health Center. It can be reached by calling 419-289-6111. That's 419-289-6111. Until next time, please join us in Keeping Ashland Healthy.